you're ready.
They know how
Ready?
to find them.
They know how to find it.
Okay. Okie dokie. All right, it is now April 2nd, 2025. It is 11:32 a.m. And I'm going to call the Bylaws and Policies Committee to order. We're going to start with a roll call.
Jackie Wilbur.
Jim Holcomb.
Mike Bryan.
And Joanna Daniels and Erica Grammer is absent and with notification and a valid notification. All right.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. All right, then we're going to move on to the invocation. Mike, would you like to pray?
Sure.
Okay.
Heavenly Father, we come to you in Jesus' name. We thank you, Lord, for the time that we have together to talk about this wonderful county that we live in, and the libraries and the policies and bylaws and things that are structured, the structure of it all. So we just ask you, Lord, to lead us and direct us and give us your wisdom, Lord, in all of this. We just want to glorify you, Lord, and make this be a place that people will want to come and live, and the people that already do live here that are Sumner County residents will take pride in our county. So we just thank you for leading us and showing us the direction you want us to go. So we just ask you to give us peace and give us a time of just discussing everything. So we just thank you, Lord, in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay. Approval of agenda. I was going to ask to move the unattended children policy to old business. Just we have a lot to discuss today, or we can leave it on. It's up to you guys. Do all of you have? I do. If we can leave it on if you guys want to, or move it to old business.
Old business for the next meeting?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Either way is fine.
I'd move to do that. Move unintended children policy to old business for the next meeting,
Okay.
just for the sake of time.
Sure.
Okay.
So moved by Jim.
Second.
Second by Mike. Move youth to old business. Jim. All in favor say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. And I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
So moved by Jim, second by Mike. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? No? Okay, wonderful. We're going to move on to now the recognition of public. And we have 3 people that are signed up to speak. And you will have 3 minutes each. Give me 1 second as I set my timer. And I will call Emily Goddard. We'll have you go ahead and step over here for us,
What's
please.
up, Emily?
Thank you.
Thank you. Greetings and good afternoon. My name is Emily Goddard. I live at 245C South Leaf Road in Portland, Tennessee. And I first want to say thank you for serving your communities in our county, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I do find it a little vexing that these meetings are in the middle of the workday, and while I understand this may work best for the committee, it does cause difficulties for those members of the public wishing to speak to you in person. I'm headed back to work right after this. This is my lunchtime. I'm here today to speak about the library funding and the various Friends organizations. I fully support and recommend that the community libraries, their directors, and their Friends groups maintain discretion regarding fundraisers and expenditures of those funds. Who better knows the communities they live in and serve than the people already living and serving there? Centralization of funds and their approval for expenditure removes local control and could remove funds raised by one community and give them to another. This seems counterintuitive to me. It seems to increase bureaucracy and decrease transparency. I believe that this body is supposed to help and support the work of the county's libraries and their directors. And from following activities pretty closely since 2023, it appears that most of what has been done has created more work for and taken agency from the directors. And finally, I believe strongly in leadership by example. And so if a body exists and creates policies and enacts bylaws, then the members of those organizations should follow the policies set forth because they are private citizens. So as a body, there's power, but as individuals, I don't feel that any member has the authority to kind of carte blanche do as what they see fit. And I think, and it's been a while since I've read it, so forgive me, I could be wrong, that as an appointed body of the committee, any policies or things that you all try to enact or set forth still has to go to the full county commission to be approved before. No.
Good.
I mean, I said I could be
That's okay.
wrong, but
Yeah,
I think
that's okay.
major,
Nope.
doesn't it still get voted on by the committee?
Was trying to.
But no,
Sorry.
thank you, I appreciate it, but I just want to make sure that we're being mindful of communities and representation, and the people that already live there and work there and serve there know their communities better than, as best as we try to have a sampling of people around the county. So let's make sure that we're listening to those directors and those friends and letting them decide where their money they raise needs to go. Thank you.
Thanks, Emily.
Charlene Allmiller. Charlene Allmiller, I apologize.
Hi, I'm Charlene Allmiller. I live at 143 Ruland Circle, Hendersonville, Tennessee. And I understand your position that, first of all, I echo everything that Ms. Goddard said. She did an excellent job summarizing everything. And I have gotten a lot of comments from people who couldn't be here either because they're sick or working, and that they have concerns about the fundraising policy. I have concerns that the library board is accepting a lot of legal responsibility and possible liability that probably should go before the county commission to determine if that's what the library board should be doing, since it would be the county taxpayers who would be paying any lawsuits that would happen. Because I mean, I think there was a fundraising concern, and it did come before the board, and the board just let it go. And so if somebody wanted to sue for wrongful termination or for improper fundraising or any like First Amendment rights or anything, that would come out of our pocket, because as far as I know, the library board doesn't have any funds of its own, even if it's trying to take the funds from the friends of the library. I also have concern about what controls would be in place about making sure that the Portland Library isn't used to subsidize the Hendersonville Library. And so I just don't know also if the library board actually has the authority statutorily to say where the discretion of the funds of a nonprofit are. And so can't wait to hear what your legal counsel has to say about this, and can't wait to hear what the library board says whenever they vote on it too. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and Mr. Rick Grims.
I'm back 1 week later, right?
Hello.
Okay, all right. Again, to address the elephant in the room as far as friends are concerned, and that's the fundraising policy. If you reference the fundraising policy that was attached to the agenda on the board's website, it talks about under general guidelines for friends of the library and foundations. Number one, all fundraisers shall be approved by the library board. Well, that's, first of all, it puts any of the friends who want to do a fundraiser, has to wait whenever your next meeting is, the board meeting, in order to get approval. And that can stifle a lot of growth and the funding for the library. We understand that the importance that you want to review what is going to be fundraising. But I would suggest, if you're going to keep this policy, that you also add on the importance that the fundraisers being held on the grounds of the library, not just in general. Okay, so there's a, as far as I'm concerned, there's a missing piece in that first statement. The following items are mislabeled as far as misnumbered. But anyway, I'll read this one. All funds raised or donated in accordance with this policy will be used at the discretion of the library board of trustees. Money, and the next one after that, monies raised by the Friends of the Library or the foundation will be for the benefit of the Sumner County Library, and reports on all gifts to the library will be given to the library board within 30 days. Our finances at Friends of the Library in Portland are used for the Portland, Tennessee Library, not Hendersonville, not any of the other libraries. And that, as a 501c3, we are an autonomous organization, and our finances are not meant to be used at the sole discretion of the library board. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And that concludes.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Just like to point out, there was another member of the public who showed up, got the meeting times flipped. We spoke, she echoed the sentiments of Ms. Goddard. Just wanted to, for those who weren't there at that last meeting, it was before you arrived, but she wasn't able to stay. Just wanted to have that reflected, that at least one more member of the public sentiment has concerns similar to Ms. Goddard.
I don't know that we can include that because, again,
Okay.
policy is that you have to be there and you have to say it. Otherwise, it would be hearsay.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Very
Thank you. I appreciate it for understanding. Okay. All right. So that concludes the recognition of the public. All right. And so now we are going to move on to approval of, there it is, January 2nd minutes.
You do have a copy of those.
Hmm?
Do you have a copy of those by any chance?
I have one copy.
Can I look at, I don't see when you see the 10, I'm having a hunt, I don't see when you see that.
It was in the
Yeah, it was in the email and everything. Here you go.
Okay.
Here's an extra copy.
Just let me read it real quick and look. Okay.
Mike, do you need to?
Yeah, I read it, but I just didn't, my printer wouldn't work, so I couldn't print.
See where Mike made the motion to adjourn. See what happens.
Took your duty away from me.
Sorry.
Sorry about that.
Mike, I did have extras if you want to, and then you can look off of mine. How's that?
Okay, thank you.
For all of them, unless you want to just
I
use
think
that.
I've got it
Okay.
here. If not, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
So
Second.
moved by Jim. Second by Mike. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Nope. Okay. All right. So now we're gonna move on to old business, which is fundraising policy. I will entertain a motion to open this up for discussion.
So moved.
So moved by Mike. Have a second?
Second.
Second by Jim. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? And any abstentions? Okay. So, everyone here has a copy of the rough draft policies. It's been sent to you numerous times. I even printed one out for everybody at one point. And I do believe that in the policies that are created at this time, there is no fundraising policy in effect. But when this was put together for the rough draft policies, and Jackie, correct me if I'm wrong, this was put together by a few people on the board and some other people.
The rough draft?
Yeah, rough draft.
April and Ronnie Fox were the ones
Okay.
that collaborated on that.
So I basically took the fundraising policy from this rough draft policies, and I made some, changes, but for the most part it was just basically here. So some of the verbiage of this fundraising policy is because at the time there was a system. So, and we've since, dissolved the system, but as you can see, there was actually a need for a fundraising policy. And I do believe that we do need a fundraising policy because in the culture of everything, legality and everything that we have today, I do believe it is important for us to have a fundraising policy. So with that, we'll open it up for discussion on what your thoughts are that needs to change or to stay. One thing that I do want to point out is that I understand us saying on the premises, but I do believe that anything that is even not on the premises, it still holds the name of the libraries.
Mm-hmm.
So I would caution, and I would think that we would have to approve that too, because
Representing the
it's
Sumner County
representing
libraries, right?
the libraries.
Using the name of the library
It's using-
to solicit
Yes,
funds.
Yeah.
correct. And to my knowledge, any entity that has a name always has to give permission for that name to be used. So anyway, so go ahead. So that's just my thoughts on that. But
Yeah.
all right. I also found a fundraising policy off of, I can't find it on here. I know that fundraising was in here somewhere. But anyways, there was another library board that I found a fundraising policy, and I did do some so let me go back to this. The one that was posted was one that I had created, and there's also one in the rough draft policy, but I brought this fundraising policy to you guys before. And the one that was in the rough draft was the rough draft, or the rough draft referenced was for the system. Sorry, just wanted to. It's been such a long time since we brought this up. I'm like, it was like months ago. So yeah.
I think where my concern lay is the wording around the second number 2 of section 1. So it's 1, 2, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah,
Yeah.
again, I don't think we have a building campaign.
What's that?
But go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. So the second number 2 reads, all funds raised or donated in accordance with this policy will be used at the discretion of the library board of trustees. I think as we
Where,
heard.
hold on, where is that at?
That's the second number 2.
The second
under-
number 2.
Second number 2,
From
sorry.
Under
Number
general
1,
guidelines for friends.
Which we need to renumber those, obviously.
Yeah.
Can you show me the one that you have?
That's the second number 2. See, under
Under
Roman
section
numeral
1, it's,
Oh, okay, sorry.
yeah, that's okay.
Okay, yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Again, this is a draft.
Totally, yeah.
Okay, yes,
Everything's on the table, including the
yes,
numeric system.
yes.
So that, I think, needs to be fleshed out. I have
Totally.
questions
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
And when we say at the discretion of, well, I'll start with, what does that mean? Or what do we envision that means?
Well, with TCA code, hold on a second. The TCA code that governs the library board, give me 1 second while I find it.
Well, just as a point of discussion, in my mind, it would not mean that funds raised for the Portland Library can be used at any other library.
That would be
So-
number 3, and I want it, yeah, that's also
Yeah.
highlighted for me to address.
So that
And we-
discretion of the library board would leave it pretty wide open.
Right.
So that,
Okay, yeah.
we definitely don't need to have
Yeah,
Friends of the Library in Portland raising money for a different library, like.
Of
if
course.
the board says, hey, well, let's use part of that for.
Mike,
so
would you
we-
like to
we
start with number
obviously
3?
Can't do that.
and I think that was taken from, I'm trying to remember all the reasons why I did all this. That I think I took from the old policy that was under a system. And
Just the
To
Sumner
my-
County Library System. and
yeah,
not
so
specific.
I think that, but also TCA code, it says that the board may receive donations, devices, and bequests to be used by it directly or for library purposes. And so, so I'm open to different language, and I think that that we could, yes, so monies raised, all funds raised or donated in accordance with this policy will be used at the discretion of the library board of trustees. So how is it that you would like to word that? What are your thoughts?
I think before we get to the wording, let's start with number 3. And that's the monies raised by the Friends of the Library or the foundation will be for the benefit of the Friends Library, or I would say a library of their choosing. If a Friends group wants to, be charitable and, help out another library, I'm not terribly concerned with where they spend that money.
Yeah.
And then, again, all that, those things get reported to us, but I think it's important, as this currently reads, it's like we would receive the funds and then disperse them as we see fit. And
Yeah.
I don't know if that was the intention of the original author or not, but I think that's bad policy.
Yeah.
So monies raised by the Friends of the Library or the foundation will be for the benefit of the library that they.
Of that Friends
No,
Library of
specific.
Association,
All three of you talked at the same
of
time.
that Friends
Sorry.
group, Library of Association.
Say what you said again.
Monies raised by the Friends of the Library or the foundation will be for the benefit of the association or the library it's associated with.
I would say the specific library that the Friends Foundation or the Friends of the Library is associated with.
Or
So
frankly,
that's
we could just say the library of the Friends choosing. Right, and that could be their home group or any other library.
No, I would, so, okay. Here's where my concern is. In going to numerous of the trainings with Red River Regional, and I am not saying this is happening here in Sumner County.
Sure.
And I think the reason why Cecilia is saying that the Red River Regional is wanting there to be a method of understanding or a mode of understanding, whatever she said, is because there is a disconnect between friends raising money and actually using it, in which, according to what the code of conduct or whatever is from friends, that it's not being used. Because it says in the golden rule of friends, it's supposed to be used how the library director needs. And so what I'm trying to get in here is that it needs to be dispersed for the library to use. Okay, so there isn't a problem now, but there was a problem with one of the friends groups withholding monies from the library in Sumner County and basically saying, no, we're only going to use it for this. Where
This specific purpose?
for a specific purpose, where the library director is saying, I get that, but I need it in this place. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I think that's why also the Red River Regional, and why they're trying to do a method of understanding, because this is a problem between libraries and friends groups across the state. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so they are, while the friends group is a 501c3 and they are a group that has their own rules and bylaws, they are using the library's name
Totally.
to raise funds.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
So I'm just saying, trying to figure out a way so that if they're going to be raised, that their understanding is that it needs to be used to fund what the library director needs.
Understood. I think there are two distinctions in the second number 2 and number 3. One is, number 3 is to whom it benefits.
Mhm.
And number 2 is how they are to be used, right? And with that, and sticking only with number 3 for the moment, I think to whom it benefits should be to which library it benefits. Right?
Correct.
Yeah, should be at the discretion of the Friends group raising the funds. And hear me out. Obviously, Gallatin's going to raise funds for Gallatin, Henderson for Hendersonville. But if I don't know, some tragedy, another car runs into Westmoreland, and the Friends groups want to rally around and have a fundraiser, all the libraries, around rally for Westmoreland. Like, I don't know why we would prevent that,
Yeah,
right? And so that's the benefit clause in number 3.
Mm-hmm.
Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I would like just the language to reflect that possibility. And if a friend group
Probably never will happen, but.
Well,
Yeah, or it
But
could.
can we
Yeah.
put in there that they can rally, but be sure not to neglect the needs of the library?
well,
Or-
I think it's inherent in their
that
mission
goes
that they would
without
be,
saying.
they would be attending to the needs of their library. I think
Okay.
that's in their charter, it's why they exist.
Yeah, that's not even there.
Yeah, and how they get used, I think is and that's, we'll save that here for a second. But I think number 3, to whom it benefits, Library of Sumner County. And again, we don't want a Friends group using the name of the library to raise money for,
Okay.
right-handed gyms, which would be my charity. you know,
Yes.
our students who are right-handed.
And also, we probably don't need to say Sumner County Public Library singular, because that's what we became when we were the system.
Mhm.
So that language there needs to be revised to Public Libraries of Sumner County was
Yeah.
what they were known as
Mhm.
before.
So how would you like it to be?
Or
Monies?
strike it all together, because Jim wants to put in there the individual, or if you said Public Libraries of Sumner County, that goes without saying, we understand it's all 5 of them. And they're not under one system, they're under their own system.
Okay, so monies
Okay.
raised by the Friends of the Library or the Foundation will be for the benefit of the libraries of Sumner County?
The Public Libraries of Sumner
Okay.
County.
That's fine with me.
Public.
I like that wording better.
Libraries.
And if we add another at some point, or
Um,
lose a library, like,
Mhm.
yeah,
Right.
this covers it.
It's
So
understood
just
that
so
those that are operating
you
under that
understand
umbrella.
that's what the intention was there.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
but now I understand, I'm understanding what you're
I think
saying.
it's just a wording thing.
Yes, for the public libraries of Sumner County. And then a report on gifts to the library will be given to the library board within 30 days of a fundraiser.
perfect.
Okay, and then going back to the second two, which is 3, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you say so.
I don't think
So,
we can change it.
all funds raised or donated in accordance with this policy will be used at the discretion of the library board of trustees. So, this is the part where that comes into play, and when I was at this training, I was in a room of probably 25 board members, and everyone said that it's hard to get the funds to be used what's needed for the libraries. And that's why I think that, and not saying that that's happening here in Sumner
No, of course.
County,
Yeah, yeah.
okay? But there's a reason why the mode of understanding or method of understanding is coming into play at the state level, because this isn't something that isn't happening, you know what I mean?
Right.
So this is where, I think the intention of this, go ahead.
Let me ask this, is the intention for the library board to be the holder of funds and the
No.
disperser of funds? Okay, I think
No.
that is a
That's the
concern.
biggest thing, I think,
No.
that's
we
a
heard
concern
from
for me too.
people.
We just
Yeah.
don't wanna,
No,
we don't
no.
wanna do that.
I don't want to be in that
We're not
Yeah,
holding
I don't
it, we're not doing anything.
Right,
We're not holding it up either.
Where I think that, where my intention here is that when there's a fundraiser, so say, I've done fundraising, ran a ministry for 15 years. When I did a fundraiser, I said specifically, this money is going to be used for this.
Right.
Okay? And I think what would be good is that when there's a fundraiser, this money will be used for,
So people know what they're giving to.
absolutely,
Yeah, I understand.
you know, a specific, this is going to be used for summer reading prizes. This is what the Friends is going to use it for.
Mhm.
This is the, you know, we're supposed to have long-term, every library has a long-term plan. And according to the Friends, you know, golden rule, it's supposed to get with the director and the board and ask, what do you need?
right.
So that's where I think this is coming in of saying, hey, we're doing fundraising, and it's to put a wing on the library, to, you know, whatever it is. Do you see where I'm coming from?
Yes. Yeah, I don't know that the wording there conveys that.
Yeah.
It doesn't,
Yeah,
but I just put it in there as a
I think
placeholder.
the rub, I
That's
think the rub to the public is probably that this is used at the discretion
right.
of the
The
library board.
discretion
So
is-
Sure,
in other
we
words, it
can
means
just, we can
take that
strike
money
the
and
whole
say,
thing. I'm not,
This is what we're gonna do with it,
again,
which, yeah, that
it was
needs
just
to
a
be-
placeholder, just
Yeah.
there,
Yeah,
just so
that-
I can.
I think that needs to be scrapped.
Now, if we go back
But
to. if we go
That's
back-
fine, I'm just saying, but what wording to now convey what I just said. Does that make sense?
Right.
So I'm okay with that, again, just a placeholder. That doesn't have to be there.
You mentioned about the fact that maybe the director, you said what the director said they needed. You said that a while ago. So could you combine that, like they're doing it, working with the
In
director?
cooperation with that
In
specific
cooperation with the
library.
director, and then not our discretion, but our support or advisement,
Right.
would that work?
Yeah.
So what about all funds raised or donated in accordance with this? Oh, wait, that would be from the Friends. Okay, hold on a second.
I mean, the Friends group are always in cooperation with the director in that specific library. I think that almost goes without saying, if we could word it that way to make sure that it's
Yeah,
But that it
follows
is
that.
there.
But we don't have a discretion of the library board of trustees, because that
Yeah.
just takes it almost out of the hands of both of those
Mhm.
and says they can just decide to do whatever they want to with it, and that's not what we need to be doing.
correct. So, so then it almost looks like, so there's two folds here. So there's a donation, a big donation that was given to Hendersonville.
Mhm.
We're now in the process of getting that turned over, and we as a board will then have discretion over that donation on how it is used. Okay, that's my understanding. That's what and I could be wrong, but I'm trying to figure that out. And right now the budget has to give to us, and then we as a board will have to say, giving it to Hendersonville or putting it in this or something like that. So there's two folds here then in this number 3. So
Funds raised are different from funds donated, is what you're
Correct.
saying. So does that need to be two
I'm thinking-
sentences?
um,
Because the
'Cause-
donations come in different forms, like this was left in a will, so it had to
this
go
would be
through
quick.
the county commission. But not every donation is left like that, so, what's the steps if it's a donation that's not left in a will that the county commission had to deal with first? I guess we need, to know how that works.
well, all donations, if they're given, have to go through the county commission.
Okay.
It all has to be accepted in a resolution. I think it's above a certain amount.
Okay,
I'll have to check.
but
But-
funds raised is a
Correct.
different animal.
Yes.
Okay.
So that doesn't apply to the Friends then, even though those funds are raised by donations.
So should we just put funds raised and donated other than through the Friends in accordance with this policy will be used at the discretion of the library board of trustees? Would that suffice it?
It sounds like it would.
What are your thoughts, Jim?
Say that again?
All funds or donations outside of the Friends of the Library, all funds raised or donated outside of the Friends of the Library in accordance with this policy will be used at the discretion of the Library Board of Trustees.
And that still excludes what the foundation does.
Friends and Foundation.
Yeah,
Okay.
right, it would exclude that, so the
Okay.
Friends could do their thing, and then the other donations outside of the Friends would come through the board.
Mm-hmm. All right, thoughts, Jim?
I think when I go to 1, all fundraisers shall be approved by the library board. I think any petition for a fundraiser would likely have where this money is going to go, right? It's directed fundraising, even if it's to the general fund.
Mhm.
We approve that, hey, that's where this money goes. I think where I get concerned is the discretion of the library board, right? I think what we want is, hey, these funds, whether donated or raised, will be used at the direction of the library director with the approval of the library board of trustees. Right? And so the director speaks to the need, and at the end of the day, we have, the guardianship of the libraries as a board.
Mhm.
And so it would come with our approval, but they have the, director is, with the Friends is raising money for new carpet, I'm not sure we're getting in the way of that.
We're not
Bless
gonna
you.
stand in the
Bless
way
you.
of that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
at their direction. But obviously, we're the approving authority.
Sure.
On improvements to the library and all these
Just
things.
signing
right?
off on it more
Right.
than anything.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. Now, so I think discretion is, and us being the arbiter of that discretion, right? I think direction of the library director and the approval of the library board of trustees makes for a better partnership, and I think is more accurately reflecting the language that, what we're trying to accomplish.
Sure.
Discretion is a strong word when you start adding that in there, so.
And this is why we have this meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is we have drafts and we can work
Suss
through
it
it.
out.
Yeah,
Okay, so all funds raised or donated in accordance to this policy will be used at the direction.
Of the library director.
I wouldn't wanna add the word in cooperation with, I think
In accordance
accordance,
with this
I
policy.
think cooperate, I mean, yeah, that's fine, but I just want the public to know that this is actually being used with the cooperation of the director for these funds to get
Yeah,
used for that
We're
specific library.
finishing that, and this just says all funds raised or donated in accordance with this policy will be used at the discretion of.
Direction.
At the direction, sorry, I
That's
even
all right.
have direction.
It's all right.
Direction of the library director. And what was it?
And the approval
And the approval
of the library board of trustees.
of the library board of trustees. And I don't think that, it just, I have to put in accordance with this policy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Will be used at the direction of the library director and the approval of the library board of trustees. Does that work for you?
Yeah, I just wanna make sure people know that we're wanting from the board is wanting the Friends of Library and the directors to be working together.
Yeah.
We're not making decisions outside of that. I don't want it to be at our discretion. I want it to be
Yeah.
so
And
whatever wording makes that work.
And as, at the meeting last time, I'm coming to find out that the board is actually supposed to be more
Right.
Yeah,
talking with the Friends,
right.
because the Friends, we're supposed to be saying, hey, the libraries need this. And so that's why I'm finding that we're supposed to be more involved
Yeah.
than we have been.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, so the Sumner County Libraries encourages fundraising efforts on behalf of the libraries as formally authorized by the Sumner County Library Board trustees. The board acknowledges and appreciates efforts to raise funds on behalf of the library. The Friends of the Sumner County Library is a 501c3 organization formed to support the Sumner County Libraries, or a foundation associated with the Sumner County Library. Is allowed to engage in fundraising activities in the library or on library grounds. So I would think fundraising activities on library grounds. I mean, I don't need the in the library, right? Or on the premises of the library, on library premises.
I think it's fun to keep both of them in there.
Okay.
which, yeah, I don't think-
Does that restrict them from fundraising somewhere else?
This is only talking about library, or I think that we do need to address that.
Because, you've got like Gallatin's Oktoberfest, or the Strawberry Festival, or Hendersonville, where they could take a booth, rent booth space and do a fundraiser at a spot like that. They're still doing the library, but they're off-site as far as,
Are you talking about the library itself or the funds?
Friends.
Right.
The Friends.
Well, I think that's where we have to put that in here, because
Okay.
again, if they're going to be representing the library, we have to, you know,
So we could just add that.
Or as if they, we have to approve their fundraisers, if they just come with us with that idea and we approve that, we understand it's off-site and we understand that, you know, if they've brought it to us, you know, do we have to say that it's okay to go off library grounds to raise money for the
I
Friends of the
think if
Library?
you're using the library name, right, so if you're, you know, having a fundraiser, puppy kicking for literacy in Sumner County libraries, you know, I wouldn't want that associated with our
No.
libraries, right? So we should probably have a say as to how the name and mark and brand are used. And
Well,
again,
that's gonna be, that's covered under number one, all fundraisers will be approved by the library board.
right, but I think someone may have the question, well, if it's not on the library grounds, then why do I have to get it?
correct,
Right, and I
Yeah.
think because you're using the mark in the name of
yeah,
the county
That's what
library.
that's what I'm asking.
yeah. So then, allow to engage in fundraising activities in the library,
Comma,
on library
on library
grounds.
grounds, comma, or off the library, or off premises.
Off premises, library premises.
Library premises. And we already say associated with the Sumner County Library right before that. So wherever the funds are being raised, in the library, on the library grounds, or off premises.
And I should put with a Sumner County Library, okay, is allowed to engage in fundraising in the library, on library grounds, or off library premises.
Yeah.
Does that
That covers
sound
it.
good to you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. All fundraising activities by the permitted groups named above must comply with applicable library policies and must be planned and executed in consultation with the library director or designee. Fundraising of any type by other persons and organizations to benefit the Sumner County Libraries will be reviewed by the Board of Library Trustees and on a case-by-case basis. This type of fundraising will be done for library purposes only. No other fundraising for civic, political, welfare, youth, or other groups, charities, or causes, including raising money through the sale of goods or food, is permitted in the library or anywhere on library property at any time. So, I'm trying to figure out, so like, I know that some of the libraries do like awarenesses, and they have food trucks or they sell things. So would that be okay?
In my mind, it would. I mean, it's just raising money. It doesn't, I don't know that we, that's why I was wondering what the sales of goods or food.
Well, go ahead.
that clause, right, is specifically about other groups,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if the Friends wanted to contract Jim's Taco Truck, book it early for Christmas, you know, they could do that to come and sell food on the library premises, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So I think what we're saying is we don't want,
Anybody just coming in, and what the intent here is that if you come in and use the facilities, you know, come in and rent the room,
Right.
you can't use it for a fundraiser.
Right.
okay,
Does that make sense?
yeah.
Is that what that's specifically for, that paragraph?
It's for, you
No
can't come in
other
and,
fundraising outside of the Friends of the Library group? Is that what,
outside of the foundation or the Friends, correct?
okay.
So you,
Maybe
Is
no
there-
other fundraising group for civic, political, welfare, youth, or other groups. I don't know,
no,
just,
the fundraising, okay,
I
yeah,
want it to
it's
be
specific to
unclear.
fundraising, not just meeting.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, no fundraising, so, you know.
Is that, accepted for all, I mean, that's accepted for all county buildings, isn't it? They can meet, but they can't use buildings for fundraising.
That I know of.
Outside,
Yeah, I don't know
So
of
that's just
any
kind
other.
of accepted as far as county buildings go, that the only fundraising that can be done for the library is by the friends or a group that,
Yes.
okay.
Or, you know, or
So,
a
yeah,
group
that's
that
just
we've
kinda
said,
normal.
hey, you can come in, do a fundraiser, but like we have to approve it. So like, so say, I don't know, there's, you know, there's a group that wants to come in and do a fundraiser for the library and they want to sell things, but all the monies go to the library, then that's fine. You know what I mean?
Okay.
If it's approved by us, you know what I mean? We would have to approve it. But we don't want someone that's running for mayor or something like that to be able to come in and get it and be able to use it as a fundraiser. Does that make sense?
Sure, exactly.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because that sounds like a whole lot of churches have that policy as well. I mean,
Mhm.
it sounds like one of those, the building belongs to the county and, you know,
Yeah.
even though, you know,
Yeah,
you
Sure.
want to, you cannot.
sure. All right, so general guidelines, all fundraisers shall be approved by the library board. Fundraising efforts may include, but are not limited to, an annual campaign and a building campaign. So, and I understand, you know, all fundraisers shall be approved by that. I just believe that if it's on premises, that we should have a say-so, you know. All funds raised or donated, we already figured that out. The Friends and the foundation will be responsible for obtaining the necessary raffle or other permits and for reporting income to the IRS and the Tennessee Department of Revenue. Guidelines for fundraising by outside persons and organizations. Outside persons and organizations wishing to raise funds for library purposes may act in the name, may act in the name of the Sumner County Public Library only after the Library Board of Trustees has reviewed and approved the fundraising plan.
There again, that probably needs to say public libraries of Sumner County.
Yes. Public libraries of Sumner County. Only, okay. The board will determine the following: specific purpose and scope of the project, starting and end dates of campaign, financial procedures to be followed, advertising and publicity to be utilized, evidence that the library and its personnel and agents will be fully indemnified against loss or damage, certification the library board trustees will receive a full and complete accounting of the funds raised on its behalf immediately upon completion of the fundraising project. The preceding guidelines are in no way intended to limit or preclude outside persons or organizations from donating funds to the library or soliciting funds for the library on their own initiative or at the request of the library board trustees or its designated agent, as long as the provisions of the policy are satisfied. Any other thoughts, concerns? The only thing is, the only thing that I would say that we would have to create now is a form for them to fill out for fundraising. So, you know, what it specifically is needed on the form, and then just have a form for them to fill out.
And can that be expedited by, you know, they're gonna do the book sale, and, you know, Hendersonville's gonna do their book sale. Just do that on a form, say, these are the, you know, we do one in the spring, one in the fall. Like, do a form that lists their standard stuff that they do every year, and they can bring that to the board once and get everything approved. And then it's the other things that, you know, they think of as their meeting or they come up with, that, that can be a separate form. Is that addressed in here?
We
or
can
whatever?
do a form for the Friends and a form for outside persons and organizations. Because the outside persons and organizations have to put specific purposes, starting and end dates of the campaign, financial procedures to be followed, advertising publicity to be utilized. Unless we just keep one
Yeah,
One
just do
form.
one form.
Just do
and
one form.
Be able to have
Okay.
friends with the library and.
Yeah, because we need to know for everything, right? Yeah.
And the
And
friends of
just,
the library would.
that's where the description, I mean, they're gonna have to describe it
Yeah.
anyway, so
Mhm.
just give us a good description.
Okay. So the form would include organization name. Date of fundraiser. So what I can just do is I can take the 2 and A through F and create a form for that and have that for the board for approval. How does that sound?
Match the policy
Okay.
perfectly. We'll do that.
So, create form to match policy. Okay. 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 Any other discussion on this?
I think the only other thing that I would bring up is, as far as the friends needing to come to us, this form will actually help that, but, so they don't have to come to us and wait on us to meet the next month and say, hey, I can't do anything until they meet in, 60 days from now or a month from now. So that form will eliminate that if they, go ahead and put everything for the year, if they can do that, or even if they're just planning ahead and they know they have everything that they're thinking right now that they're gonna do for a fundraiser, then that gets approved and they don't have to come back to us each time and say, hey, what about this, what about this? It'll all be on the form. But anything outside the form that's not planned in advance, that they say, hey, this would be a great idea to have another fundraiser, I think it would be good for us to have like some kind of mechanism in place where they could contact one of us or whatever and say, hey, we've got this fundraiser, it's gonna happen on this day. We'd really rather not wait until y'all's next meeting. So is there a way for us to make maybe just a paragraph in the policy to say we can speed that process up for them if there's a fundraiser they need to do that wasn't on the form that they originally filled out? And that way we don't have to.
We can't do that, and we ran into that problem with the book signing policy. We have, as a board, we have to vote, and now at this time, we have 10 meetings a year, and
You can always
and
call a special call.
we can do a
meeting
special
if
call
you
meeting,
need to.
and
That's what
I don't
I'm
know,
saying. I
and
think it's just so they don't
I
have to
know
wait.
that I've done fundraising. It's hard to put something together in 2 weeks. You know what I
Right,
mean?
yeah.
So,
Yeah. Of course.
I think that, again, we can't put that in there because it has to be a board meeting. You mean, now if they come to us and we decide to have a special called meeting, we can do that, but we can't approve anything without a board.
Right.
Does
Yeah,
that
I'm
make
not
sense?
saying we would approve it outside of that. I'm just saying a mechanism for them to be able to say, oh, well, we could say, hey, we've got this fundraiser we want to do that we didn't put on our original form because it just came up, so that they don't have to wait on us to meet again.
But
We
they
could do a
can't.
special called meeting.
They can't, we have to do a special call meeting.
That's what I'm saying. So we could do a special called meeting.
Oh, well, but that can happen anytime. They can email us at any time and say,
I think
hey.
just to have it in here so they could know that that's something they can do.
Yeah, but if we don't get a special call meeting, so we don't have enough people to have a special call meeting. I hear where you're coming from, but I don't think that, one, that's really gonna rise, and two, like with anything, we have to have a quorum to have enough people for a special call meeting.
Right, yeah.
So
It's all given.
I think that's all already given, that we can do that.
Okay.
I'm trying to, I don't think that we need to put a mechanism in there, because as a chair, we can call you know, that the chair can call a special call meeting anytime, you know, like we did for budget and like we did for, you know, when Lauren, you know,
Yeah.
left.
I'm just
So-
thinking of the friends, you know, trying to get a way for them to say they can, you know, contact us for a special call meeting.
Well, that's why we're being in contact with them more, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, we're reaching out to them more and and I know I've gone to 2 of the meetings. I'm trying to get to all the meetings, and I know that generally, like when I go to a friends meeting, they're planning like 3 to 4 months out.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's never anything that's like within 30 days.
Yeah.
And again, we can always add things to an agenda last
Yeah.
minute. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
So I just don't want to policy it to death. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
for
just be
sure.
like,
Yeah.
There aren't a lot of emergency fundraisers.
Yeah.
yes, yeah, not
Right.
not a
And
whole
if there
lot.
is,
Exactly.
we can always call them.
Well, yeah, a special called meeting or yeah. Okay. So so I'll entertain a motion to accept the fundraising policy as written here and
With corrections.
with corrections with all this stuff with all my notes and
Plus the
for
phone.
plus and for me to create the form and it to be presented at the next library board meeting.
So moved.
So moved by Mike.
Second.
Okay, Mike. Second by Jim. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? And any abstentions? Nope, okay. All right, great. So that has been done. All right, so now we are going to move on to the mission statement.
I hate to make this, but I think that we need to take a potty break.
Oh, okay. All right,
Yeah.
so
5 minutes.
I will motion. for
Motion
recess.
to
Yeah,
take
make
a
a
recess.
Recess by Jim, second by Jackie. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Okay. All right. I'm going to bring us now back into session. All right. So with what Jim, you said that you are needing to be out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I have some time
okay.
constraints here in the afternoon.
Then I'll entertain motion to move mission statement to old business.
So moved.
So moved.
I'll
Old
second.
business.
Well,
By
it's gonna take some
Mike.
time.
Second by Jackie. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, new business, collection and development policy. So I am, can you give him as well? So
Thank
we're
you.
supposed to review this annually. Obviously, there's been some, I'll entertain a motion to open this up for discussion.
So moved.
So moved by Jim, second by Mike. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. So I've gone through this policy because it's now been in effect for almost a year. We're supposed to go through it annually. We went through it briefly because of the whole disposal of things. But I wanted to go through and after looking at a few other collection policies and some of the things that have come up, you'll see all of my suggestions in green. So under selection process, the library directors will provide a monthly inventory list of newly purchased or to be purchased materials. I want to preface this that, the collection, any problems with the collection, the buck stops with us. That's how it is, okay? And in, again, the resolution that was brought by some county commissioners saying that we have responsibility to make sure that the libraries are safe and in compliance. So I've come through and I've kind of changed a few things and says, and and then it says, at the end, it says, the library board shall remove any books from the collection that violate state and local laws. Again, it's our responsibility to do this. So I'm just gonna go through the things. The selection of any material of the library's collection does not constitute an endorsement of its contents. The library strives, I took out the library strives to provide a balanced view on all subjects by selecting sources portraying various sides of an issue. That goes without say, you know. All library materials but the most important thing is all library materials will adhere to all city and county ordinances and state and federal laws. Development plan, the primary goal of collection development is to provide needs of community while creating a safe environment for all ages. For it to meet educational, informational, and recreational needs, honestly, that's just, I think it's more the needs of the community. What are they, you know? While creating a safe environment for all ages. I believe that that's important for all public spaces. Next, strives to provide a collection with an emphasis on informational, educational, and factually correct materials. And then I would put down the bottom, it says purchase multiple copies of popular titles where patron demand warrants and his budget allows. You know, I understand that there's popular books that come out, but is it really our responsibility to provide numerous copies of a popular title when people have the ability to go and purchase it? I mean, because then once that is, we're not talking about something that is going to be factually true for the rest of your life. This is a popular title that has come out, and in 8 or 9 months, now we're going to be stuck with like 6 or 7 titles of a book that now we're going to have to, that taxpayers have purchased, that now we're going to have to donate or weed out. You know what I mean? So just my thoughts. So I thought 3 copies and 1 copy of electronic. I mean, to me, I think that that's plenty.
What is the normal policy for something like that?
However many
3 copies, or is it
however many they want
like
to
in Red
purchase.
River when we're going through that stuff? They don't have any kind of standard for those kinds of things. Okay.
No, there's
It's
no
just,
standard.
Whatever we
And
think.
as it is right now, like it's just whatever the director wants to purchase, but we have the ability to put that in there. And I'm just saying this again, just my thoughts. These are my thoughts because we have a fiduciary responsibility, and I'm just kind of like, again, we have to weed at 5% every year,
Yeah.
and so then we have to buy another 5%, and that's what we have in there. And you know, authors have this great outlet in libraries. Basically, you know, an author can release something, all of a sudden, all the taxpayers are supporting their book. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I can think of examples of what you're saying, and then I go back to, hey, what I live with, and that's Diary of a Wimpy Kid. You know, and those are not only going to be popular for the next 6 months, but they're going to be popular every year for 6 months for the next group of kids who are coming in to read those, right? And then they're going to blow through the whole series. And so if the library wants 5 copies of those, and you know, Gallatin, they are tattered and abused because of the filthy hands that they land in, you know, these young middle-aged boys or middle school boys or elementary kids. You know, so I could see a case for more than 3, but you know. But I would also say, you know, hey, if somebody wants to donate extra copies, and I've done that to the library as well, donated copies of Wimpy Kid, so that they can have more than just the 3 that we purchased. Yeah, great. But,
Yeah.
But I think there's a difference between, you know, something that is enduringly popular, like
Sure.
Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and
And
I don't know, something
it
else.
just
that's really
appeals
popular.
to that boy that's a reluctant reader, but suddenly.
Totally, 100%.
Suddenly.
Yeah,
You got it
Right.
because, hey, I can identify, I have a connection,
yeah,
and that's me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I fought elementary graphic novels for a long time because
Yeah.
in my I wanted print, eyes in
Right.
print,
Right.
I wanted imagination, but when I saw the audience that it appealed to,
Mhm.
that I was helping a classroom teacher get this child
Yeah.
eyes in print with a picture that helped him understand it. It was different.
And arguing myself out of my own position, I think there are now 11 or 12 of the
Something like
Wimpy Kid.
that.
So
There's a lot of
that's
them.
36
Mhm.
copies of Wimpy Kid. And Greg Heffley's life does not need to be chronicled in order for you to understand what he's going through. So he's perpetually
But like you say,
miserable.
if we say 3 and they will accept donations.
Yeah, sure.
So they can even put that in the free,
Yeah.
free section if
And-
the kids wanna take the tattered ones.
Yep.
And at 3, they've still got 36
Right.
Yes.
copies of Diary of a
Yeah.
Wimpy Kid.
And again, what they're weeding, they can reorder another one
Yeah.
so that it's not
Yeah,
tattered.
if they
and can-
weed it, if they
Exactly.
weed it because it's
Yep.
been worn, you can
I think
replace
this
that.
is reasonable.
Yeah.
How you have it worded
Thank you.
in that way.
All right, so under tools, the only thing I added was library directors shall not reference the American Library Association or any resources created by the American Library Association as a tool for selecting materials. We are not a member of the ALA. Secretary Trey Hargett has said we are not a member of the ALA. I don't believe that the ALA really is something that is along with the community standards of Sumner County, so I just don't feel that it's needed. All right, so policy for protecting children. I put in there, I guess curating is supposed to be a capital letter, but I don't think so, but Grammarly and Word kept wanting me to make it a capital, so I don't know. So I think it's just a lowercase.
It is.
So, okay, so I'm gonna put that as lowercase, because
Yeah.
I'm just like,
I think it's because but it doesn't make sense,
Yeah.
because the rest of them are lowercase.
Yeah.
Then when you hit return, it did not, but sometimes
yeah.
self-correct drives me crazy.
Yeah. So, in curating its collection, the Sumner County Public Library takes seriously its obligation to not include sex acts, sexually explicit or graphic materials within the children and young adult sections or within the reach of minors in any area that a minor has access to or in areas that are not under the supervision of a library employee. The library shall adhere to TCA 3917-914. This is to ensure that children cannot obtain these materials while in the library without the express permission of a parent or legal guardian that is on the premises of the library. If a parent or guardian wishes to allow a minor to access such material, then the materials must be first checked out by the parent or guardian. Give me 1 second while I close this door.
I got you. Go
Okay,
ahead.
thank you. And, there has been over the last year all this confusion, which I'm not sure why there's confusion because the TCA code specifically states how to handle this. That's why it's referenced. But I also, this is not, when we created this policy, and Jim, I know you were there, and Mike, I know you weren't there. This is not about checking out of materials.
Yeah.
This is about having access
Materials that are accessible.
in the library. You know what I mean? And, we don't want them to have access to go get a book, go read it, and put it back. You know what I mean? That was the whole reasoning behind this. So,
It's not that it's not accessible to the public, it's that it's not accessible to minors.
To
or
minors.
children. That's the
exactly.
defining.
And again, a parent or legal guardian, if they want to give it to their
They can do it
child,
all they want.
and all they want, they can check it out.
This is not about book banning.
Nope. This is
It's
about curating.
accessibility.
Accessibility.
Right. That
Okay.
needs to be
Yeah.
drilled home, I think.
Okay, on the next one, at the bottom it says the library director shall ensure that no materials containing anything in the paragraph above is within reach of a minor and shall take all necessary steps to ensure that no minors will have access to any such materials in any section of the library. And that is just me taking off of
TCA.
reasonable steps are taken to prevent minors from pursuing the material.
Yeah,
That's just-
That's totally within reason.
Exactly. And then number 7, this was already in there. I don't know why it made the whole thing green, but I did take out. The sole exception of this policy is that the library directors may curate materials of the type identified in the above paragraph and description 1 through 6 for bona fide research by adults. The library director shall ensure that all materials are kept in such a way as to prevent access by children. That was already in there, I just took out the one part of it.
Okay.
Transgender and gender confusing materials. There shall be no materials in the collection of Sumner County libraries that make mention of pertaining, promoting, or subjecting a minor to transgender or gender confusion ideology. This, if it is an adult, then that's fine. But if it has anything that's aimed towards a child, as we know, executive order by President Trump, there's a man, boy, there's actually, and I forgot to bring it, but there's actually, I think he said something about funding could not go to public things, entities that promoted transgenderism. So I want to make sure that we're in compliance with that as well. Again, this is just mention of pertaining, promoting, or subjecting a minor to transgender or gender confusion ideology.
How are we making the differentiation between books on, say, gender dysphoria for adults and those geared toward minors? Are we going on the recommended reading age of the book, or?
So no. So what it is if it involves a minor at all.
Oh, okay. Depiction of a minor.
Depiction of a minor,
perfect, okay.
anything. If it is an adult saying that they want to be this, then that's an adult. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
But this cannot be
The
depiction of a
Yeah.
minor.
but if
Go ahead.
somebody put out a graphic novel for young adults, which are still minors, with adults undergoing sex change, would that would also be permitted, or that would be excluded?
We can put in here that any of this subject cannot be in anywhere in children's or young adults
Yeah.
as well.
I think that's,
Okay, so, but we'd like to, so any materials containing, can't spell today. Transgender or gender confusion ideology shall not be in children or young adult. Adult sections and shall any being children or young adult sections. Should we put materials containing transgender or gender confusion ideology shall be shelved in compliance with the
TCA,
protecting
whatever that.
like that, the
Yeah.
protection, like
The
that.
materials shall be shelved.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would it, if we say there shall be no materials accessible to minors in the collection of Sumner County libraries that may be those, would that not cover that? Even though we've already said a minute ago,
Well,
you know,
it
that it's not
doesn't,
accessible.
it doesn't address,
Where
it
it's
needs
shelved.
where it's shelved.
Yeah,
It needs.
we want it to
you
be in an area such as the protection of children. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yep.
You look like you're thinking hard about it.
try.
So materials
And I
containing
forgot what you
gender
said.
confusion ideology shall not be in children's or young adult section.
Shall be shelved.
Materials. I want to put it though, but materials concerning adults with transgender and gender confusion identity shall be shelved in accordance to,
Sorry.
That's okay, shall be shelved in accordance to, or shall be, I just want to say the protection, what is it, the policy for protecting children and harmful.
Children's, no, that's the internet protection.
Well, I don't know
if-
if we should,
You don't even want to quote the law?
I don't think we,
cite
because the law
law.
doesn't apply to transgender. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Should we just say, shall be shelved?
So the TCA doesn't mention transgender
Mm-mm.
subject?
So should we just say, shall be shelved out of reach of minors and in an area supervised by employees?
However we worded it in the few paragraphs before that, probably just repeat that.
Yeah, make it consistent.
Just make it
Yeah,
consistent.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, just
Should we
make it
just,
consistent with
just
what
make
we've
it
already
consistent
said.
with that?
Yeah.
Materials,
Are kept in such a way as to prevent access by children. That's what the paragraph before says.
because I want you to be able to be here. So what I'll do is I'll make it congruent with the
With what
policy.
you just said.
Yeah,
Mhm.
materials are to be, okay, all right. All right, going to duplicates, I just put in there, in the interest of fiscal responsibility, no more than 3 physical and 1 copies of, one, I meant to put 1 electronic copy of a popular title shall be purchased. Guest requests for materials with sexually explicit materials involving minors, promotion of transgender or gender confusion in minors shall not be fulfilled. And then current standards for libraries, I just Grammarly said assess for relevance and currency in a minimum of every 2 years. We're actually supposed to be doing this yearly, so I don't know how every 2 years got in there. So should we put a minimum in currency every year,
Just put in
annually?
currency,
Yeah.
a minimum,
Annually.
A minimum of annually.
Okay. Because I was like, how did that
I'm
happen?
not seeing it. Where are we at? What page?
It's under it's
Page
page 8.
Yeah.
That
Um,
first green section.
Assessed for relevance and currency annually. It's under reading.
Point to it for me, Mike. Yeah, I see relevance. I don't see, oh.
Oh, no, and currency. I don't know how a minimum
And currency.
2 years annually.
and currency annually. Not for a minimum of 2 years, because we're supposed to be doing it annually. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I see currency, I think money.
Oh. Okay,
I would
so,
just say relevance and strike all the rest of that and just write annually after relevance, or relevance.
Yeah.
annually.
Resources
Okay,
are assessed for relevance annually.
okay.
It's all that.
All right, and then I know he has a hard stop at 1:15. Censorship and access. I added, it is the duty of the library board to ensure that the Sumner County libraries are in compliance with local and state laws pertaining to the development of the collection of the libraries. For this reason, each board member has the duty to report to the library director and the full board if any materials are found in violation of the collection and development policy. In the event of a perceived violation, a board member will notate the titles, report them to the director, and notify the full board. The director will pull the materials for the board to review. The materials will then come before the full board for review at the next regularly scheduled meeting. So I added that, and then I took a whole lot out for the next part. So libraries materials reconsideration. If you go down, any of the above individuals may bring concerns about the inclusion of the library materials to the library director. A director's first course of action is to try to resolve the patron's concerns verbally. The director shall report any verbal challenges to the library board. If the patron is not satisfied, the patron who requests the reconsideration of the library boards has the right to put his or her request in writing by completing the signing the request for reconsideration library materials form. The library staff will supply the form to the patron. Come to find out, in Portland, it was not supplied. The patron actually had to pay to get it printed. A copy of the completed form will be given to the director and to the person completing the form. The director will pull the materials from the shelf and notify the board within 24 hours. It is the director's responsibility to communicate with the library staff which materials have been challenged. I took out all the rest of it and said the library board will review the citizen's request and the materials for the reconsideration at its next regular meeting. And considering the request, the citizen making the request for the reconsideration shall have the right to address the board and make their concerns with the material and why it does not conform to the library collection policy. The library board will then determine whether the challenged material is in compliance with the stated policies of the Sumner County Public Library. On the basis of this determination, the board shall vote on how to proceed with the challenged material. The director will communicate the board's decision and the reason for it in writing via email provided by the patron to the patron who initiated the request for reconsideration. The director shall include the library board in the communication with the patron. I took all of the whole, because again, the buck stops with us. This is similar to the school board challenged books. I believe that it just needs to come to us. We just need to say yes or no. And, you know, I know that in Rutherford County, I reached out to them. This is how they do theirs. It doesn't even go through the library director, comes directly to the board. The board says yes or no, done, no process. Such as, you know, I know that there's been books in reconsideration since February 19th in Portland. We're now into April. We still don't have like a yes or no on any of those books. And I think that this way it just comes to us and we make the decision since the buck stops with us anyways. And seeing as how, again, we are to make sure that our libraries are safe and in compliance with state law, there's no reason to drag it out. That's my thoughts. And
So
then
all the rest of this that was
Yep.
striped is all of that?
Mhm.
Okay.
and the appeals and all that stuff. And then I just simply changed on the form. It said patron information. I just said patron name. I don't know why the information was on there. And then if the objection, it's just this grammatical error. And then have you read or viewed the material? I just scratched that out because, of course, they've read or viewed the material. Why would they be bringing it
Yeah.
to it? You know what I mean? Because it's going to say, what are your concerns? So they're going to have to tell us what their concerns are.
It's just redundant.
It's just redundant. So, so those are my thoughts.
Okay.
If there's no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion to accept this as noted and amended to go onto the board. And of course, I'll make the changes as we said and go onto the board for a final approval.
So moved.
Second.
So moved by Jim. Second by Mike. All in favor say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. All right. And since I know that you are leaving, do y'all want to move the rest to old business?
Yes.
And then we can,
We still have quorum, I'm just saying.
Yes.
Yeah. I make a motion, we move the rest to old business.
Okay.
And, talk about it as a full committee.
And we'll have Erica back too, hopefully.
Yeah.
We'll have Erica back.
Okay. So move all to old business. I have by Mike. Do I have a second by Jim? All in favor say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, all right, and so then I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to adjourn. Yeah, let
Mike
He's been
got
so
it. All right, second by Jim. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any opposed? Any abstentions?
One more cookie.
One more cookie, take the cookies.